This tutorial is brought to you by Hey, what's up guys? My name is Josh Inobakure and welcome to Olufemi Tutorials. What's up guys, Josh here. And in this video we're going to talk about how to use After Effects to apply digital makeup to people. So there are many different ways that you can apply digital makeup. We're only going to look at two in this tutorial. One that I call pimple removal, and then another one that I call digital foundation. These are two things that you can actually use together, and it works very well. Now we're going to say new project. Cool. We're gonna go to After Effects, right click, save as, and we're gonna save this project as digital makeup 2. I already have a project named digital makeup, so we're just gonna create another project called digital makeup 2. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to right click and say import file, and we're gonna go over to our hard drive and we're going to import this clip called face. There we go. This clip is simply a clip of my face, imperfections and all. We're going to correct those imperfections right now. We're going to go and create a new composition. Make sure that the composition settings match our clip settings. We're going to keep the name comp1. We're going to make sure that the resolution is correct. Yep, 1920 by 1080 square pixels. That's what we want. 23.976 frames per second, aka 24 frames per second. And we're going to click OK. Now, one thing I don't want you guys to do is feel intimidated by After Effects and this other software that we're going to use in conjunction with After Effects. You're going to realize just how easy it is. Just follow along very closely, and if you need to, feel free to go back and rewind a little bit. So we're going to drag face, the clip, into the composition that we just created, comp 1, and we're going to scroll through it and take a look at this. Cool. The first thing that you see a lot of big, or not a lot, you actually see just one main big pimple here, and then you see a lot of just tiny pimples and tiny face scars and tinier imperfections in the face. The first thing I want to do is I want to see if we can take away this small pimple right here, or this large pimple. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually double the clip. So you can actually click on the clip and do Control D. That will double up the clip. And we're going to go to the pen tool, and we're actually going to we're going to first make sure our playhead's at the very beginning, and then we're going to create a mask. Basically what this mask is doing is it's cutting around so that if I were to blind this clip, I just made this clip not visible. The only part of the clip that now exists on this top clip is this part of the face that I just masked out. So I'm going to turn both clips on so you can't actually see the emptiness of this first clip, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the very first frame, and I'm going to have After Effects actually track this part of my face over the course of the entire clip, and I'll tell you why. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click. If you go down into masks, you can see this mask that I just created. We're going to right click on this mask, and we're going to say track mask. If you see here, this tracker window should pop up, and we're going to make sure that our method is perspective. You can track position like in the XY direction or position rotation. We're going to track perspective. That's going to track in 3D space, I believe. And because my head is turning, we're going to want to be tracking in 3D space. So watch this. We're going to make sure our playhead's at the very beginning, and we're going to track forward. Now we're tracking forward. I'm going to turn my head over this way. Now, as this is tracking, there are going to be keyframes that are created, which I will show you after the track is done. Alright, the track is now finished, and as you can see, this mask tracks this one area of my upper cheek along the entire course of the clip, and it follows it pretty perfectly. I want to show you guys right here. If you go into masks and then you go into mask path, you can see that the mask path has been keyframed, meaning that what this tracker did is it tracked a path for this mask as the clip moved forward, so that this mask was always covering the same portion of my face, even when my face moved. Perfect. Now listen closely. What I'm going to now do is I'm going to close this up and I'm going to go to transform. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the position of this mask up to cover the pimple. I'll click off of it so you can see what I did. Now what you can see is what I basically did was I moved this duplicated clip so that the area in the duplicated clip that I masked out, which was for this portion of my upper cheek, I moved it basically by changing the position in transform, so that I basically moved this clip up to cover my pimple, which you can see in the bottom face clip. Right now you're seeing both clips at the same time. This face clip, which is the same as this face clip, except this face clip has been masked so that you can only see this one portion of the cheek, and this clip has also been moved so that it moves over the pimple of this bottom face clip. Cool. So what we're going to do is, this doesn't look quite right because you can see the edges of this mask. So we're going to go and we're going to go into mask and we're going to actually feather that mask. Feathering basically makes the edges less sharp. So if we were to play through this, you can see that the pimple pretty much disappears. Ooh, look what just happened. So what just happened? So it looks great over here, but as I move my face, you see that the mask doesn't quite stick over this area where the pimple was. So what I actually need to do is I need to go and actually keyframe my position as well, because the position that I changed from here to here must be keyframed, because as my face moves, the position of the pimple moves as well. So we're going to create a keyframe here, and we're going to come over here, create another keyframe, and we're going to move the position back over my face. Perfect. If you guys don't remember, keyframing is basically effecting an effect over the course of time. So what I'm doing now is I click my stopwatch to toggle keyframes. Once my keyframes have been toggled for a certain effect, like position, I can then go to here to add as many keyframes as I want. So I just added a keyframe here, and then I added a keyframe here. And that seems to work. Cool. So we have figured out how to take away this big pimple. I'm going to blind this track so you can see the difference. I've taken away the big pimple, but now I need to figure out how to take away all of these imperfections in my face. And we're going to do that using a software called Mocha. Mocha is a software that actually comes with After Effects, and it's very, very easy to use. I'm going to show you how to use it right now. What we're going to do is we're first going to right click on our comp, and we're going to do New, and we're going to do Adjustment Layer. What an adjustment layer is it's just like an adjustment layer in Premiere, where whatever effect you put on the adjustment layer, it will apply to all the layers below. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of masks, not in After Effects though, in Mocha, and what those masks will be, they will be actually blur masks. So I'm going to create masks on my face where I want the blur effect to take place, and then I'm going to track those masks within a software called Mocha, and then those masks will then be applied to the clips below. We're going to now click this clip which is the original clip of the face, and we're going to go to Animation, Track in Mocha AE. We're going to make sure that the project is named what we want it to be, face, that works, and we're going to make sure it's saved where we want, that works as well, inside my hard drive. And then we're going to click OK. Looks like I already have it clipped with that same name, so let's name it something else. Let's name it Face 2, and we're going to do OK. Perfect. So now, as you can see, that Mocha has a very similar interface than After Effects, as After Effects has a timeline and a playhead. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of masks. Even if you've never used Mocha before, have no fear. Let's just dive in. We're going to create a thing called an X-Spline layer tool. This is what we're going to use to create our masks. So check this out. We're going to make sure that we're at the very beginning on our playhead, which we are, and we're going to create a bunch of masks that will cover different parts of my face. So we're going to first do my first cheek. There we go. I'm just clicking with my right mouse button. Then to click off to complete the mask, you're going to right click. There we go. And now you want this to track while this face moves. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually track forward. Excuse me. Let me say this as well. What you just created was a mask, of course, that you're going to track forward. Your mask shows up here. And what I like to do is I like to be organized, and I like to label my mask. I'm going to name this Cheek 1. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure it's at the very beginning, and I'm going to track forward. All right. Not sure why I did that, but it seemed to track the entire mask perfectly. One thing that I'm going to click on this cheek so that all these things, this is my mask, click on it so that all these tabs open up. I actually would have wanted to do perspective. Right now I'm taking into account translation, scale, rotation, shear. I think I would have liked to have done perspective. Evidently, it still tracked it pretty well though. So we're going to just leave perspective on for our other tracks. So I just tracked this cheek. I'm going to create another mask now. And I'm going to actually do it from the middle. I'm going to track backward. I'm going to track forward as I move my head. So I'm going to create another X-spline. Tracking my forehead now. Right click to undo my mask. And I'm going to name this forehead. Cool. Now I'm going to click on this and I'm going to track this forward and I'm going to track it backward. You can see that you can see where you're tracking in your, as far as your clip goes, by looking at the playhead. I'm now tracking forward. All right, and we are done. We're going to go back to this place where we started, where you can see they actually created a keyframe so that I know where I started, and now I'm going to actually track backward. First, let's see how this track looks. We're going to scroll through this. Seems to hook onto my forehead pretty well. Okay, we're going to go straight to this initial point, and we're going to track backward now. To track this part. This is going to be more interesting because I actually turned my head, so we're going to see how well the track fits onto my forehead. All right, so I already see some issues. I see that the track didn't quite work, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few keyframes now. Keyframes are so easy to add in Mocha. All you got to do is go to the place where you want to move your track, and then you literally just move your track to where you want it to go, and the keyframes automatically created. Keyframes, of course, are in green in Mocha. Okay, so here, we need to move this in now. Okay, it's looking good from here to here. I'm gonna make sure this is in. Okay. Perfect. And right here, I'm going to extend this over here. I also want these to be right there. Okay, let's see. So all you gotta do is you gotta just adjust until it's how you like it. And what you're basically doing with these new keyframes is you're just correcting the track that has already taken place. And that honestly looks pretty good. Now let's go to the last cheek. We're going to make another mask, create our X-spline, get our X-spline tool. I'm going to create another mask for my cheek number 2. Right click, and now I'm going to track forward. All right, and we're done. We're gonna now move over to our initial point where we started, where this keyframe is, and we're gonna track backward now. This is gonna be a more interesting track because I believe this is a track where I turn my head. All right, so it seemed to want to stop here, which works because I think my nose gets in the way, and my cheek that I'm actually masking seems to actually disappear around the other side of my head. Basically what we're doing is we're using all these masks to put the blur effect on my face to actually blur out all these imperfections. So we only need to actually use the blur effect when we can actually see the part of the cheek that we're trying to blur. So as far as here, we can actually do this. This is what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create another keyframe here after this keyframe. Excuse me, before this keyframe. I can create a keyframe by either clicking this new keyframe or actually just moving the mask. I'm going to create a new keyframe using this way. Then I'm going to go to this keyframe before, and I'm going to move this mask so that it moves out into the white abyss where it's not going to make any difference. Now, as you can see, in between this keyframe and this keyframe, it jumps from out in that white abyss to my cheek. Let's correct it right here. And then after that point, it continues to mask around my cheek. Mask out my cheek. Cool. We're almost done, guys. Last one I think I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go over to this first mask right here, my cheek 1 mask. Excuse me, I forgot to label this cheek 2 mask. Let's label that. Cheek 2. This cheek 2 mask is again this mask we just did right here. Let's go back to our cheek 1 mask and do this. If you noticed, cheek 1 mask looks great here, but as I go over to this orientation of my face, it starts to leave out this portion of my cheek. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as I turn my head, I'm going to actually move this mask right here. I'm automatically creating keyframes, as you can see. I'm going to adjust the mask as so. Let's create another keyframe right here. There we go. So now I can see that all 3 of these masks pretty much cover the entirety of my face that needs correcting. I'm going to double check this first mask again. Looks great. Perfect. So we have all three masks, guys. Now we're going to individually export these masks and bring them back into After Effects. Now look very closely. We're going to start with cheek 1. Cheek 1, we're going to go to export. First, we're going to make sure that our playhead is at the very, very beginning. And we're going to export shape data. Okay. And we're going to copy to clipboard. Now we're going to go back to After Effects, and we're going to go to our adjustment layer that we created. We're going to make sure that our playhead is at the very, very beginning of our clip so that it matches the beginning of the clip here. And then we're going to go to Edit, and then Paste Mocha Mask. As you can see, as we go through our clip, the mask has now been pasted onto our adjustment layer. If we click into our adjustment layer and go to masks, we can see that cheek 1 has been created. If we go into cheek 1, you can see all of the keyframes of the mask path that have been translated from Mocha over to After Effects, and it's amazing. Now we're going to go back to Mocha, and we're going to go to let's go to forehead now and do this mask. If you remember, we're going to go to the very first frame where my head is turned in this direction. We're going to go to Export Shape Data. We're going to copy to clipboard. We're going to go to After Effects. Make sure we're on the very first frame again. We're going to go back to Adjustment Layer, and we're going to go to Edit again, and we're going to go to Paste Mocha Mask. And look at that. We just created a second mask. And it retained the name as well, forehead. As well, you can see that the keyframes are present for the mask path, and it will follow the same path as it, because it was tracked already in Mocha. We're going to go to Mocha again. We're going to go to our last track, cheek 2, and we're going to make sure we're on the very first frame, which we are. Then we're going to go to Export Shape Data. We're going to go to Copy to Clipboard. And then we're going to again go to After Effects, go to the very first frame. Then we're going to go to, which we're clicked on the adjustment layer. We're going to go to Edit and then Paste Mocha Mask. And we should have a third one, awesome, called Cheek. As you can see, it starts out in the white abyss, stays in that white abyss until my cheek is present from the other side of my head, and then it latches onto my cheek and it tracks my cheek. Perfect. Pretty easy, guys. Now, what I want us to do is I want us to now go into Effects and check out Blur. We're going to type Blur into Effects and Presets. If Effects and Presets is not present, go to Window and make sure that Effects and Presets has been checked. Then we're going to go to Blur. We're going to check out Gaussian Blur. And we're going to put Gaussian Blur on this adjustment layer. Now, what is happening is the adjustment layer is only affecting the parts that have been masked out. So we have 3 masks that are on the exact same adjustment layer, and whatever effects we apply to that adjustment layer will only take effect on those masks, which is awesome. So we're going to go to Gaussian Blur, and we're going to increase the blurriness. As you can see, the blurriness is only taking effect within the masks. Pretty cool. So you can already see that my face looks a little bit smoother. Now, I already see another issue. I think that the masks are a little bit sharp on the edges, so I'm going to go back to our masks, each one, and I'm going to feather those masks. Let's see. Let's feather those masks, let's say to 40 for now. We're going to go to forehead and feather that one to 40 as well. We're going to go to cheek 2 and feather that one as well to 40. Cheek 2 is right here, so technically this area, the white background has been blurred, but you can't really tell. We're just going to leave it like that. I don't think it matters. And we're going to click off so we can see what our masks look like. Alright, so I just adjusted the blurriness up to 30 now. I'm going to feather the masks a little bit more. Let's feather it up to 55, 54. Approximately. let's take another look. Now obviously you can see that my skin looks a lot smoother than it used to. One thing that I think I actually may want to do is in the future I may want to actually apply this mask to my nose as well as my chin, just so that this mask looks a little bit more consistent throughout the entire look of my face. One thing that I haven't done yet, however, is I haven't added grain. Whenever you add masks like this where you're adding blur to your face, you want to make sure that your grain or your noise would be an actually more accurate term. You want to make sure that your noise is consistent with the noise that's already on your video footage, because what you've done is you've actually perfected your footage to a point where it's actually better quality than your real video footage. So it's not going to mesh with your actual video footage unless you put some noise back in. So we're going to just put some noise on our adjustment layer. We're going to go into effects and presets, and we're going to go to noise and grain, and we're going to add noise. We're going to put noise on the adjustment layer, and just by trial and error we're going to see what amount of noise we actually want. So we're going to start here, start at 11, maybe a little bit too much. Let's go down to 5. All right, it's a little bit better. I'll be honest, I still think I want to actually add a mask, another mask to my nose and to my chin, just to make this look a little bit better. We're going to speed through this though, because you guys already know at this point how to add masks. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have completed this mask for my nose and my chin, and this kind of makes this skin softening or digital foundation look more realistic. What I did was I went in and I went to my nose and I actually reduced the mask opacity down to 52%, so it's not quite as strong as the other masks, because I noticed that if I had this mask on, if I had the blur effect on too strong, if my mask was all the way at 100%, I would start to lose my definition of my nose. So I didn't want this to look too flat. I wanted to get the arches in here. I made sure the mask opacity was low. Okay, so I also added another mask to my chin. I think I adjusted the mask opacity as well, and it looks pretty good. Now I want to tell you guys, we only covered pimple removal and digital foundation in this tutorial, but if you think about it, all we did was we created a bunch of masks and we applied effects on those masks. We just used Mocha to create those masks because it was easier to track things in Mocha than it is to track in After Effects. Say you had a person with lighter skin and that skin looked a little bit red. You could bring back those natural skin tones to that person by creating another mask in Mocha if you wish, and then instead of putting a blur effect on that one area, say on this cheek, you could actually go into curves, color curves, and actually take out the red. So these masks are doing the exact same thing, but they are being used with different effects. So that is a basic tutorial on digital makeup. Thanks for watching.